Raw food diet, what it is and why the raw food diet is actually the ideal diet. Hi there, I'm Dr. Corassa, a Brazilian nutritionist that have been living on fruits and vegetables, a raw food diet for 17 years. And I healed my diabetes, I healed back pains, respiratory issues, allergies, and a lot of other diseases, eating primarily plant-based raw food also, and water fasting, and doing other healthful living choices, healthful lifestyle choices. So stay there until the end to learn more how to improve your diet and how to improve your health. Why I eat a raw food diet? Because it makes me feel better. That's the first part. It makes me feel better and makes me work better in everything that I do. But not just that. That's the logical part. But the scientific part is that when you cook food, you end up losing, in average, 30% of the micronutrients in the food. And you derange also. You cause damage to the micronutrients. So it's a lot of changes that happen. You lose water, you lose 30% of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants. You damage proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. But you also manage to eat foods that we are not biologically adapted to. That means a persimmon, I can eat it raw when it's ripe. But can you eat it raw, a potato? Can you eat rice raw? Can you eat beans raw? Can you eat a rabbit raw? Because human beings have been eating a lot of meat. But we don't eat it the raw animal as it is, the raw from the raw carcass. We cut the pieces of the meat, we cook it, we throw salt on it, so it's quite different. So I'm suggesting, as natural hygiene suggests, that we were biologically adapted. We evolved for millions of years eating this foods. So these has the right macronutrient, micronutrient, the right ratio of nutrients to feed our bodies as it was medicine. So this can actually heal our health issues. And that's not like my opinion. That is science. We can see all around it. I put like papers over here to show you that fruits and vegetables are actually inverse correlated with every kind of disease in the planet that human beings can have, like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, autoimmune disease, neurological diseases. Fruits and vegetables are always positively correlated with prevention or inversely correlated with all these diseases, as we call in epidemiology. So this is why I eat a raw food diet, because I feel better, because nowadays it tastes better. In the beginning it didn't, but for sure nowadays I wouldn't change even if you give me like $1 billion, and I swear to God. And also because scientifically speaking, cooking process don't just lose nutrients, but it also forms the Maillard reaction end products that are the cooked food toxins. So when you cook it for like 200 degrees Celsius, 250 in an oven for like half an hour, you are actually causing toxins that are carcinogenic, mutagenic, pro-inflammatory, clastogenic, gerontotoxins, genotoxic, cytotoxic. They cause a lot of damage that are well established in the literature. But nobody thinks of eating a raw food diet. They think it's impossible, just animals eat it. But human beings have been living on raw foods for 8 millions of years. And all the animals in the planet have been living on raw food for the whole life itself. So that's why I eat a raw food diet. So what is actually a raw food diet? A raw foodist is a person that don't cook its food. But most people, when they think of raw, they think at least of like 50% of their diet raw or 80%. So if you're coming from a cooked food diet, eating at least 50% of your food raw, it's a huge deal. It's a big benefit to your health. So try to aim at least to eat 50% of your diet raw. So if you eat raw foods before your cooked food meals, you always end up getting a lot of raw food in at least every day. Or you can also go for 5 a day, as the campaign in the United States was created like 20 years ago or something like that, to eat 5 portions of fruits and vegetables each day. That means eating like 3 bananas and 2 tomatoes. That would be like 500 grams. That would be 5 portions. So there's a lot of approaches to raw foods, but the approach that I prefer and that I have been doing for 17 years is not the usual approach that is called the living food diet. It's actually the frugivore approach. So I have been living out of fruits and vegetables for 17 years, but I don't eat only exclusively fruits and vegetables. I eat mushrooms, I eat nuts and seeds, I can eat like legumes, like fresh peas, for example, or fresh beans out of the pod. When they're not ripe, they're still immature, they're still soft and tender and a little bit sweet. But fruit always predominate my diet because it's the most tastiest thing for anthropoid primates. We're still primates, although most people don't want to accept it. Our physiology, anatomy, biochemistry. For example, carnivore animals don't see colors. We see colors because we need to differentiate green fruit for ripe fruit, and that shows us nutrients in that. Actually, the more colorful a food is, the more phytonutrients there are. So also we have opposable thumbs that permit us to climb trees and hold the fruit in our hands. And also we can sense the sweet taste. It's a genetic adaptation that almost only frugivores in the whole planet has. So that's why fruit predominates in my diet, and vegetables also, because we are primates. But I also include a few handfuls of nuts and seeds here and there, and other foods as long as the seasons goes and these foods come into season. I love mushrooms, for example. So how do you can substitute cooked food for raw food? One example is like get some ripe bananas, for example, in the morning, and you can smash the ripe bananas with a little bit of cinnamon. Maybe throw some raw peanuts or raw cashews on that. You already have like 3 to 4 portions of fruits with a handful of nuts. Nuts are also inversely correlated with a lot of diseases. So nuts increase your longevity and health. So don't worry about the calories in the nuts, worry about micronutrients, and they're loaded of it. Just make sure they're raw. So that would be a meal, for example. Or at lunch, have like a huge salad with an avocado, like half a head of lettuce, some chopped celery, some chopped tomatoes, and a half of avocado, a whole avocado if it's small, smashed with some lemon or lime. You already have a big portion of raw food extra. And at dinner, you can have like grapes, or you can have watermelon, or you can have some papaya, tangerines. You can just mono meal one fruit or combine a few fruits, or even make a green smoothie, for example, with ripe bananas, some celery or some kale. You blend them with dates or with coconut water and a little bit of water, and it gives a perfect smooth. Throw some ice in it and you have some really good substitutes for your usual meal. So you can change one meal for raw food meal. Pretty easy without too much gourmet food or without spending too much. So you're seeing a lot of fruit, so you're probably wondering, this is too expensive. And that's an illusion. You're like thinking inside of the matrix, and that is actually a lie. Why? Because if you go to a farmer's market, in the end of the farmer's market, at least in Brazil, we get chipa, as we call it. They sell it pretty cheap because they're going to lose a lot of it, because this spoils fast because it's a lot of water. So if you go directly to the farmer, or to cut the intermediaries, cut people who sell to you, like the farmer sells to a big market that sells to the supermarkets and then sells to you. If you go directly to the farmer, or at least to the first market, you're going to pay a lot less when you buy, even more when you buy in bulk. But you don't have to only think of that. You have to think of how much you spend with health insurance, doctors, pills, supplements, and a lot of other stuff, and restaurants and things like that. I don't spend in restaurants. I don't have health insurance for almost 2 decades. I didn't have any paid consultations with doctors because I don't get sick. I don't take supplements, and I don't need medicine whatsoever. So 17 years living with this, I have saved a lot of money, but not just saved money. I perform better in my work. I perform better in life, and I enjoy life a lot better. So I think it's worth the price, even if it was more expensive, but it's not. In the end, if you buy in bulk, and if you maybe include some steamed starch in your diet, if it's more cheap, even then, you're going to have a better health than the usual cooked food diet and processed foods whatsoever. I know in America you can pay 80 cents for a cheeseburger, but that's actually a lie. The government is actually subsidizing like the processed food industry and the agropecuary that kills a lot of animals, so it's another story. But that's what is a raw food diet. You can also include like sprouts, you can also sprout like grains, you can sprout legumes. The less you cook, the better your health will be. That's the main reason for the raw food diet. But there's other reasons why I'm a raw fooder, because food is much more pleasurable, beautiful, and also I plant a lot of trees, as you can see it. I have like 300 fruit trees, so I grow a lot of my food inside my house, so that's more sustainable, so I'm more eco-friendly. So I do a raw food diet not just for myself, I do for the planet, I do for the animals, I do for social perspective, economical perspective. I know that I'm helping the planet by eating the foods as Mother Nature grows to us, give it to us. Do you want to know more about raw foods? Do you want to know how to make the switch? First of all, start subscribing to the channel, hit the bell button, give it a thumbs up, comment below, and don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. But I also have 10 books published. They're starting to be published in Amazon in English. There's already the first book, Hygienic Fasting Nature Surgery, but the others are coming. I also have 6 online courses, but they're all in Portuguese. I run retreats here January and July in a big property with a tennis court, 3 blocks from the beach, a huge garden with a lot of fruits, and I also attend patients online and in person. So if you want help, if you're not managing to maintain a raw food diet or to change your diet, I'm here for you. So that's why I moved out of the city, because I want to be in nature. This gives us a lot of health benefits. Just to touch the soil, you are actually improving your microbiota. So just by looking at plants, just by being close to plants, you're smelling their gases. They're actually enhances your immune system, enhances your glycemic control. It's crazy what we see in science nowadays from the benefits of being in nature and being in a natural environment out of the cities or surrounded with plants. So you can improve your health by eating a raw food diet and being around plants. So what's your thoughts? Comment below and click these videos to know more.